Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho. Ocho tarjetas. Wow, qué impresionante. Hola, bienvenidos a todos a mi canal Spanish Blueprints. My name is Joshua, and this channel is dedicated to guiding you during your Spanish learning journey. And right there, I was just counting the amount of flashcards that I have made. So I hope already you see the value of learning Spanish numbers. And that's why in this video, you're going to be learning how to count up to 100 in Spanish. What I have learned is that Spanish numbers are extremely important in our daily conversations in Spanish and overall in our lives. We are always counting throughout the day. Just think about all the times that you are counting something, whether it's the amount of, fruit that you have in your refrigerator, or how much money you need to pay for a certain expense, or how many reps that you just did for your chest press in the gym. So the list goes on. So as you can see, there are various situations where we use numbers in our daily lives and that are very important to us. And that's why it's even more important that you learn Spanish numbers. You're gonna come across numbers in basically everything that you're consuming, whether that's reading, or if you're listening to music, or if you're watching a TV show in Spanish. And especially during Spanish conversations with native Spanish speakers. And that is definitely something that I have realized after traveling through Latin America, how often I was hearing numbers. For example, when I was walking in the streets in Mexico or La República Dominicana, there was many times when I heard a salesman or a saleswoman trying to sell a product. And guess what they were doing? They were yelling out different prices of the different products that they had. And the funny thing was, I did not always understand them, because you're not just hearing one little small phrase like, oh, ocho manzanas, or 10 bananas, or 20 lápices. They were actually saying very long phrases with those numbers. And this also happens basically anywhere that you're going to be going. So if you're in a restaurant, or if you're at the airport and they're calling out different numbers for the different flights that are going on, especially those times when you are purchasing something in Spanish. And I would say this has been one of the most difficult things for me, because there's so many numbers involved in context, in addition to everything else that they're trying to ask you. Por ejemplo, les pregunto cuánto cuestan estos pantalones. Me van a responder algo como, normalmente estos pantalones cuestan 945 pesos, pero hoy tenemos un descuento de 15%. ¿Te gustan esos pantalones? So that's why personally I've been going back to studying Spanish numbers, so I know exactly what I'm hearing, how to say the numbers properly, and so I'm able to comprehend everything that I'm hearing in these types of situations, because it has been very difficult for me to follow all those different numbers that I'm receiving. Also, I would say the best way to get used to saying numbers in different types of situations and in different types of contexts is by thinking in Spanish and also by speaking out loud. So when you are counting things throughout the day, you're going to be saying them in Spanish. Entonces, me quedan 10 minutos antes de salir de mi casa, or I need 5 more apples to make this recipe. All right, now it's time to learn how to count some numbers in Spanish. Vamos. Vamos a empezar con los números en español. Let's start with the numbers in Spanish. Number 1 is uno. Uno. Then we have dos for 2, dos. Tres for 3. 4 we have cuatro. Cuatro. 5 we have cinco. Cinco. 6 we have seis. Seis. 7 is siete. Siete. Then we have ocho for 8. Ocho. Nueve for 9. Nueve. And don't forget that we say this V con B with B and not a V sound. So nueve, nueve. Then 10, we have diez. And then also, don't forget la Z, the Z se pronuncia con S. So we pronounce this Z with an S. So 10. It won't be 10, but it'll be 10 for 10. 11, we have 11. 11 for 11. 11. 12 is 12. 12. And 13 is 13. 13. 14, 14. 14. 15, 15. 15. 16, 16. 16. So then we have el acento sobre el E. We have the accent mark over A in Espanol and Spanish. So we need to make sure that we say this with a little bit more force. So 16. 16. Like that. And then don't forget as well with these E's here. So in English we say I, but in Spanish these are E's. So we're going to say 16. 16. 17, we have 17. 17. 18, we have 18. 18. 19, we have 19. 19. So that's the kind of nice pattern that we have here. So that makes it a little bit less difficult to memorize since we have 10 in front of the 4 of these numbers here, 16 through 19. Now moving on to 20, we have 20. 20. Y el número 21. 21. And then you're going to see another pattern here when we're going through our 20s where we have this E here. And that will be connecting this bent. And then we just add on our regular numbers that we saw from 1 through 9. So that makes it fairly simple. So you already know this last part here from what we just went through on this side. So that's really nice. So we have 21 for 21, and then 22 is 22. 22. And then again, we have un acento sobre el O. We have an accent mark over O. So we're going to say this with a little más, and we're going to say this with a little bit more force. So 22. 22. 23. 23. And I'm going to do the same thing here. 23. I'll just make sure that we say this E here, and then also this E. Excuse me. As you can see, it gets kind of confusing sometimes. A. Make this A here. Make sure that we pronounce it a little bit more strongly. 20. E. 23. 23. 24. 24. 24. 25. 25. 25. 26. 26. 26. 27, we have 27. 27. 28, we have 28. 28. 29, we have 29. 29. And then for 30, we have 30. 30. Okay, mis amigos, now we're going to look at the rest of the numbers up to 100 in Spanish with the tens here. So first, we have, of course, we already went over this, 10, which is 10, and then 20 is 20, 30 is 30, 30. Now going to 40, this is our new number that we haven't seen yet, número 40. 40. 50 is 50. 50. 60 is 60. 60. Are you seeing a pattern yet? Thankfully, we have these nice endings here that all are fairly similar. So 60. 70 is 70. 70. 80, we have 80. 80. 90 is 90. 90. And then 100, we have 100. 100. So that is pretty nice that we're able to get this nice pattern here. And you'll also see that a lot with many other vocabulary words in the Spanish language, where you're going to see a lot of similarities between them, whether it's the beginning of the word or whether it's the ending of the word, so on and so forth. So now, how exactly do we say each of these, like 40 and 50, but 40, we'll say 41, actually we're going to go to 50, 51 to 59. How do we say those numbers? So looking over here, if we have 51, we're just going to say 50, so that's 50, and then we have y uno. And what is this E sound? So this is actually Y in Spanish, so Y, but this is making the E sound. So 51. So this is actually saying 50 and 1. Then we have 52, 50 and 2. And then here for 60, 61, we have 61. 61. 60 and 1, then we have 62, 62, 62. So 51 to 52, 51, 52, 52, 61, 61, 62, 62. Now let's see all the tens together one more time. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And then for 51, we have 51. 52, we have 52. And then if we keep going on with that, 53 would be 53. 54 would be 54. And then 55 would be 55, 56, 56, 57, 57, 58, 58, and then 59, 59. And then we would go to 60. So it's that simple. But I think the biggest challenge when it comes to Spanish numbers is the pronunciation, because these words are fairly long, as you can see here. So 40, 50, 60, it's kind of a mouthful. But the more you practice, of course, you're going to be able to master these. You'll be saying them with ease. Muchas gracias por ver este video. Espero que lo hayan disfrutado muchísimo. I hope you all enjoyed this video and that you really see the importance of counting in Spanish on a daily basis to advance in your Spanish learning journey. Te veo en el próximo video. Hasta luego.